Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abbott, aka Mr. Just the Facts. Mr. Just the Facts. All we do are the facts. Um, Family, make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit the subscribe button. We are gonna have a conversation tonight. We're gonna talk about the first black president, if you will. And there's some things that I always bring up, right? When I'm talking about Obama, and there I might have to do a part two to this, basically. There might be a part two to this. So what I need everybody to do that's listening in is to share this conversation out. Let people know that a conversation is being had about if Barack Obama was actually a good president for our people. Let me pull this up real quick. Y'all give me 1 second. I want to make sure that when I go live that I can see my live screen. I mean my screen, because the PowerPoint presentation takes up both of my monitors. Okay, cool. So, fam, Dre is in the building. I see you. BTP Shanna is on deck. What's going on, sis? Um, Shout out to everybody that's listening in. I just got text. People, the peoples is watching. Shout out to Brother Prom. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in right now. Again, share the video out. If y'all want to support the channel, you already know, support the channel. We are trying to grow this channel. We changed the name of the other channel to Freedmen University, and that's where we're gonna keep our other live streams archived, and we're gonna still add content to that channel. Vince Jefferson plugged in. What's going on, fam? We're gonna still be adding content to that channel, so make sure you if you're not subscribed to that channel, check out that channel. But we're trying to grow this new channel right here, so click the like button, share the video out, help us grow the channel, support the channel. Cash App be the power. You can use the super chat. You can donate directly to our 501c3, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, right from the website. And I'm gonna get into this thing. Let me see. Where do I want to go with this? I think I'm gonna just get into it. I got a lot of slides, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to all or get through all of these slides tonight, but I'm gonna try my best. And Ray Alexander said this subject needed to be discussed. It's a long overdue discussion. That's a fact, Ray Alexander. Charlie Jacobs said, peace to the Freedman family. Continue to pursue purpose and impact the world. You already know that's what it is. That is exactly what we are doing. So let me see. I think I'm just gonna get into this thing. Let's get into this. Y'all know I'm not gonna be able to see the live chat while I'm live directly from my screen, but I do have my phone up. So at times I will try to check in to see. BTP Ali said, peace to the American Freedmen families. That's right, fam. That's right. Peace to all of the American Freedmen fam. Let me put the link in there just in case some of the bros want to come on in a few. I forgot all about that. All right, so let me pull up the screen, the PowerPoint, and we're just gonna get into this thing. Let's get into this. No need to waste any more time. All right, let's blow this thing up. See how that looks first. Again, make sure y'all click the like on the button, even if you're watching this video after the fact. If you're not a part of this live stream and you are on here watching this video, make sure you click like on the video. You can show your appreciation as well. They have a super thanks, which you can show some financial support to the channel via super thanks after the video is open over. It's a small heart button that's on the video. Peace, A Boogie, what's going on? Brother Dre said Obama was the first black Ronald Reagan. Ray Alexander said Tavis Smiley talked about the substantial shortcomings of the Obama administration, but people tried to silence Tavis Smiley. And it wasn't just Tavis Smiley. It was also Dr. Cornel West, who just announced his bid for president. You know, I don't think I have a opinion either way. Well, I guess I do. We'll talk about that. You know, it's people, black Democrats are trying to get on Tavis. Black Democrats are trying to get on Dr. Cornel West with the same boring, tired old talking points. You're going to split the black vote, and then Trump is going to win. They always try to scare our people. So do nothing Biden stay in office. Okay, man, look, let me get into this. So y'all see, this is the thumbnail for the video. I tried to change it. Some people actually seeing this as the thumbnail. Some people seeing the original thumbnail. It says, tune in tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Be the Power Youth. I actually did this myself. I'm proud of myself. Josh was cracking up laughing at it. But it looks good to me. I don't know if he was laughing at it or the way I got the looking down on Obama. You know, it looked like he's looking down on the black family. And that was my intended purpose. Why? Because Jesse Jackson was caught on a hot mic. And Jesse Jackson said, I want to cut his nuts out. Barack, he's always talking down to black people. And remember, everybody got on Jesse Jackson's case. The black boule Democratic buffer class got on Jesse Jackson. They grounded him into powder. So much so that when Obama got reelected, Jesse Jackson could have won an Oscar for best emotional performance because he was out there just sobbing away, boo-hooing out on that lawn in Chicago, boo-hooing. I remember that. I was like, look at these fake tears. It's as fake as Obama sipping that Flint, Michigan water. Everybody let that stuff slide. But in this day and time, that stuff will not slide. Some KT said, I have no problem with Trump. I hope he wins in 2024. We're going to have that discussion too. We're going to have that discussion too about the presidential election and the upcoming 2024 presidential election. But tonight, let's get into Barack Obama. What's his name? Barry Soetoro or something like that. I can't remember the name, but this is going to be interesting. So let's go. So we're going to start with the finger-wagging Obamas. Obama looked down on American freedmen and talked to us the same way white supremacists did. I want to start there because it's important for us to set the stage on why Barack Obama, who many view as a black man, why he had the sentiment that he had towards us. And if you watch the stream that I did on the Wealth Gap a couple nights ago, I brought up the Mitch McConnell piece, and I'm going to bring that up again later on in this stream because it's going to basically solidify my opinions on Obama, and not just my opinions. This man's own words are going to be used as evidence, his own actions and lack thereof. Insofar as policy prescriptions for the American freedmen, they are going to tell the story way better than I ever can. So, or ever will. So let's get into it. So this is a New York Times article, and I'm going to be doing some reading today. So I want y'all to bear with me. This is an educational. I will be doing some reading tonight. Why does Obama scold black boys? the former president still can't see the beautiful and complex range of Black culture. Before I go, what's going on, Session L, Iron Physique, I see you, fam. Before I continue, Ali says something, because there was a debate. This brother put up a video. He was going at this Chinese brother influencer named China Mac. And I'm very familiar with China Mac. I'll get into that story one day. But the brother was one of them, I call them the 3-letter cults, the FBA guys, that group. You know, you got people saying FBA ain't a group, it's a group to me. It's a group to me. And it is what it is. But I'm not gonna harp on that. But he did this video, and Ali, I think I put it in the inbox. Or Ali did. And Ali said, you know what, man? Hip-hop culture is not Black culture. And I paused for a minute as I read the statement. He put another comment and said, hip-hop culture is a subculture of Black American culture or American freedmen culture. And when he said that part of it, then I completely understood his first statement, because he was 100% correct. What white America, the European in America, whatever you want to call these people, what they have done is they have always taken the most negative aspects of who we are and perpetuated that as if that's who we were. Joe Louis, for instance, famous freedman boxer, wouldn't eat watermelon in public because of the stereotype that Blacks eat watermelon in a certain type of way. It was menstrual, right? So he didn't want to ever eat watermelon on camera, the fried chicken and things of that nature. Shout out to BTP Riri. Shout out to BTP Corey. The BTP mods is up in the building. Shout out to all the BTP mods. And the subheader of this article, the former president still can't see the beautiful and complex range of Black culture, made me think about what my brother Ali said as I was putting this presentation together. So let's get into it. This is by a sister named Derica Purnell. If I had to guess, I think this is the sister that come out the same neighborhoods we come out of. And that's Derica. That's Derica. So let's read. On Tuesday, former President Barack Obama spoke in Oakland, California, at a town hall for My Brother's Keeper, an initiative to mentor young Black men that he started after George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin in 2012. He and the basketball player Stephen Curry discussed mentorship, masculinity, and mass incarceration. But his scolding of Black boys drew the most attention. Quote, if you are really confident about your financial situation, Mr. Obama told the crowd, quote, you are probably not going to be wearing an 8-pound chain around your neck. Now, y'all always hear me get on Barack Obama about that line, because it's a stereotypical line that Black people just spend their money on gold chains. No, it is Barack Obama, who is not of the family, the lineages of our families as American freedmen, who looks at American freedmen through the same lens as white supremacists, who can only see us as caricatures of human beings that one may draw up, or one may put Black paint on their face and paint their lips red and say, this is the Negro. And so when Obama makes this statement in front of college students, he says, when you're financially, if you're really confident about your financial situation, you're probably not going to be wearing an 8-pound chain around your neck. Well, rappers wear gold jewelry, and the drug dealers back in the days wore the gold jewelry. In fact, the rappers copied the drug dealers. If you look at a lot of the early rappers, they dressed kind of what we would call metrosexual today. They look like the village boys. What's the name of that group? I think they call it the village boys, something I can't remember. They dress like that a little bit, right? It's not until more hardcore hip hop starts to take shape. When Jam Master Jay becomes a member of the group Run DMC, even they start to change their persona from the black leather blazer, the black leather hat, and Jam Master Jay introduces them to the open toe Adidas style, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, peace, what's going on? Cool Farilla, Arthur Waters in the building. All right, so let's get back into this article. It says, because he continued, oh, I got a bank account. I don't have to show you how much I got. I feel good. You see, all of this is tropage and it's stereotypical. And it is a way to talk down on black people. So I want to read and try to get through this. His comments disappointed me. This is the author, Sister Darika, because they're part of problematic practices like calling out black children for having ghetto names like mine or wearing Air Jordans. Such remarks by Mr. Obama reflects his administration's failure and, to an extent, that of my brother's keeper, to tackle the systemic inequality that shapes black people's lives in America. I went to Harvard Law School decades after Mr. Obama and his wife, Michelle, graduated. When I was there in 2014, nobody wore thick gold chains to show off their wealth. They wore thin ones to match their David Yurman bracelets. Canada Goose down jackets may as well have been part of a uniform during Boston winters. Students, quote unquote, took, quote unquote, gap years and graduated from Sidwell. Harvard was the first place I saw a Rolex in real life. You got to understand this story, this picture that this sister is painting. She said Harvard was the first place I saw a Rolex in real life. I wonder if it was the same model as the $15,000 Rolex that Mr. Obama wears in the Kehinde Wiley painting of him in the National Portrait Gallery. It's that what is that term Sister Sunny uses? Sheesh, what is that term? It's right on the tip of my tongue. It'll come back to me. My brother's keepers participants are less like my wealthy law class. My brother's keepers participants are less like my wealthy law school classmates, and more like my brothers, cousins, and childhood friends. Like my family, many of them have no reason to be, quote unquote, really confident about their financial situation. And Mr. Obama is partly to blame for that. Black families were hit hardest during the financial crisis because of falling home ownership rates and layoffs. Blacks lost over half their wealth between 2005 and 2009, according to a report from the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Instead of bailing out families, Mr. Obama bailed out banks, failing to pursue specific policies that would have addressed the decline in Black home ownership rates and equity. And we're going to get to some of that later. The economist, William Darity, painted a stark picture in a 2016 article in The Atlantic. Quote, Blacks working full-time have lower levels of wealth than whites who are unemployed. Blacks in the third quintile of the income distribution have less wealth or a lower net worth than whites in the lowest quintile. Even more damning for any presumption that America is free of racism is our finding that Black households whose heads have college degrees have $10,000 less in net worth than white households whose heads never finished high school. Let me stress that last part. White households, Black households, have $10,000 less with the college degree or college degrees, have $10,000 less in net worth than white households whose heads never finished high school. So to be white in America, using these racial terms, means that you could basically be a high school dropout and you're still going to be worth $10,000 more on average than Black people who have college degrees. Darika continues in her article, yet Michelle's husband, as he introduced himself at the town hall, uses my brother's keeper to change life outcomes for boys of colors. But its solution to financial security and the racist violence that led to Trayvon's murder are the same: community mentorship. This pales in comparison to reparations or any major social or legislative intervention that justice requires. Again, let me go back some, because I want you all to see this article that was published by Derica Purnell. This was published February 23rd in 2019. Why does Obama scold black boys? This was published in the New York Times. So I wanted to share that again. Oh, matter of fact, this is the last verse. To put it another way, programs like My Brother's Keeper insist on making better versions of Trayvon Martin. She killed them with this. That's why I said we smoking on Obama packs tonight. We smoking on them Obama packs tonight. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all share the video out. Y'all know ain't nobody doing it like Be the Power. To put it another way, programs like My Brother's Keeper insist on making better versions of Trayvon Martin, the black victim, instead of asking how to stop creating people like George Zimmerman, the racist vigilante, rather than encouraging them to dismantle the systems that deepen wealth inequality. Mr. Obama tells black boys to tuck their chains. She is so spot on with this article, and make sure you all check on it. I don't think there's a paywall for this article. A lot of these articles have these paywalls, so make sure y'all check. Let me see. I got a whole bunch of messages coming through at the same time. Okay, so let's go to the next. I want to contrast that to something that's happening in modern times, because Barack Obama is staunchly against reparations, even though new reports have come out saying he's for it now. Yeah, but we're going to get to that. The Bush Foundation is giving away $50 million to slave descendants in Minnesota and the Dakotas. The descendants can apply for grants administered by Nexus Community Partners over the next 8 years. This is from the Star Tribune. Now, why did I bring this up? The Bush Foundation is giving away $50 million to descendants of slaves as a way to help address long-standing injustices resulting from slavery, Jim Crow laws, redlining in housing, and police brutality. Again, I might do a part 2 on this because there's so much to cover. I might come back tomorrow night and do a part 2. I'm not sure. But if the Republican, uber conservative Bush Foundation can do something like this, can support reparations, not just by saying, yeah, I support it, like Obama is doing, he's not going to be full-throated in support of it, because the Democrats don't support reparations. And I'm going to show that by the end of this stream. What is Obama's foundation doing to support? Do we not see Michelle Obama fawn all over George W. Bush? Why didn't they partner? Bush and Obama's foundation collaborate to give away $100 million to slave descendants in Minnesota and Dakotas. And being that Obama lived in Chicago, let's try Chicago for a change. No, these Democrats have to stick to a specific theme. So the irony, scorching irony, that was the term my sister Sonny uses, scorching irony. The irony is that the Bush Foundation, this liberal, this conservative Republican, founded by a conservative Republican, is doing this. Now, it's not all that it cracks up to be, but you got to give them an E for effort, right? So let me see. I'm not going to read through all of this. Nexus will begin taking grant applications on June 19th, which is Juneteenth, the federal holiday that commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. So it's only for people in Minnesota and the Dakotas. Grants up to $50,000 will be issued to 800 descendants of slavery by 2031. 800 descendants of slavery by 2031. So I want to, read this because they kind of get it right here. Nexus and the Bush Foundation say the program is not a reparations effort because it is not extensive enough. But community leaders rank the wealth building program with only a few others looking to address slavery's generational effects in any meaningful way. So again, they get an E for effort. Now, it's this part of it that obviously we as grassroots reparationists fighting for reparations, reparative justice, a total, full, complete reparative package, we take issue with this part right here. It says to apply for the Nexus Community Partners grant to apply for, I'm a little hype, y'all. Y'all know when I get hype, I'll be trying to read too fast, trying to get to the next sentence. And whenever I'm doing PowerPoints, I'm always trying to breeze through it so I could get through it in time. So I kind of mess up when I'm doing that. So forgive me. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. To apply for the Nexus Community Partners grant, applicants must live in Minnesota, South or North Dakota, and be a descendant of the Atlantic slave trade, including the Caribbean, North, Central, and South America. Descendants of formerly enslaved people who repatriated to Africa also are eligible. So for those of us that watch what's going on in the reparationist space, we know that the Narcan and Cobra types would love something like this. I wouldn't be surprised if they started directing their people to this, especially since they do watch our channel. We know Jam be watching us, trying to steal all of our stuff and remix it and repackage it into something to build a bridge to nowhere, basically. That's right. We smoking the Barack Woods session. Satchel Del Ree, what's going on, sis? So let's get back to it. This was another article that was published in the Washington Post in 2013. To critics, Obama's scolding tone with Black audiences is getting old. Let's read from it. It says, Trevor Coleman thinks it's time for President Obama to get a new speech for Black audiences. The personal responsibility finger-wagging delivered most recently Sunday at Morehouse College's commencement is getting old. During the speech, Obama admonished Black men to take care of their families and their communities and told the graduates that despite the lingering legacies of slavery and discrimination, quote, we've got no time for excuses. Obama also used the occasion to talk about his own life, touching on the fact that he was raised by a single mother and that growing up, he sometimes blamed some of his bad choices on the, quote, world trying to keep a Black man down. This is BS. We know this is BS because we know Barack Obama's life story, but he gets in front of people and he tells this twisted narrative. I want to read that last part. Obama also used the occasion to talk about his own life, touching on the fact that he was raised by a single mother and that growing up, he sometimes blamed some of his bad choices on, quote, the world trying to keep a Black man down. Let's look at Obama's history. Madeline Dunham, or Dunham. I think it's pronounced Dunham. Let's read this. Madeline Lee Payne Dunham, born 1922 and died in 2008. She died soon after Barack Obama took office. Was an American banker and the maternal grandmother of Barack Obama, the 44th president of the United States. She and her husband, Stanley Armour Dunham, and I should have looked and seen what he did. I was just putting this thing together and I stuck on that single mother part. Raised Obama from age 10 in their Honolulu apartment, where on November 2nd, 2008, she died 2 days before her grandson was elected president. So, okay, so it happened right before the election. Reports have come out that Obama's grandmother, who raised him, not a single mother, that was a lie. Obama, he was a liar. He was a liar. He was just like those folk because he was one of those folk. And we're going to get to that part. reports have come out that Obama received $400,000 from his deceased grandmother that was bequeathed to him. This idea that he just grew up without money, it's a lie. It's just a lie. And that these hard choices that he made in life was based on them trying to keep a black man dead. Dude, you were raised in a structured family. So you get in front of black men at colleges, usually, and you try to talk down to them because you know the message is going to spread throughout the media so that it finds its way to the ears of the average, quote unquote, black man in America, particularly the American freedmen. For those of you that remember Bill Cosby's pound cake speech, this is what Obama did. Talked down to our people. I don't know what happened to Cosby. In the 70s, he was giving out that good liberation game to our people. But then something happened. And he sounds much of how Barack Obama, or he sounded then much of how Barack Obama sounds now. And this type of thinking, it infects American freedmen. And we know, because I use the term finger-wagging Obamas, because Michelle Obama was the same way. She threw Reverend Wright up under the bus in her book Becoming, while praising and showering love on George W. Bush. Here's a headline from the Washington Post. Michelle Obama gives commencement address at Bowie State, challenges students to keep learning. But what did she say? Unlike their ancestors, she said, young African Americans too often can't be bothered. Quote, instead of walking miles every day to school, they're sitting on couches for hours playing video games, watching TV. Instead of dreaming of being a teacher or a lawyer or a business leader, they're fantasizing about being a baller or a rapper, she said. Stereotypes coming from our own people. When you look up to these people who you aspire to be like, these words, they sit on you in a certain way. They reshape your experiences or the outlook that is derived from your experiences living that American freedman life. It continues with her saying, please reject the slander that says a black child with a book is trying to act white. In short, be an example of excellence for the next generation. Who's saying that anymore, right? The people that they said tried to act white, family, look up the Blue Vein Society and the brown paper bag test. That's where that comes from. There was a group of light-skinned black people about Obama's complexion. I call Obama a white man with a tan. About Obama's complexion, but lighter, much lighter. They were the ones that were trying to act white. Again, look up the Blue Vein Society. Look up the brown paper bag test. There's a book by Lawrence Otis Graham that I have, and I've never finished reading that book. And I'm going to finish that book, called Our Kind of People. It talks about this particular society within black society, subculture. More of Obama. Obama sharply assails absent black fathers. Senator Obama, this was published June 16, 2008. He ran his campaign dissing black people, particularly black men. Senator Barack Obama took part in Sunday services at the Apostolic Church of God on Chicago's South Side. He's in Chicago. And he says, this is from the article, too many fathers are MIA. Too many fathers are AWOL, missing from too many lives and too many homes, Mr. Obama said, to a chorus of approving murmurs from the audience. They have abandoned their responsibilities, acting like boys instead of men, and the foundations of our families are weaker because of it. Blame black men. We've seen that in the Democratic Party. We've pointed that out here on Be the Power. We see what Ice Cube is going through right now. This is why we're hoping these celebrities start getting up with us. We're not like those other movements with all of this that claim to be for reparations, that's with all of that BS. It says, accompanied by his wife, Michelle, and his daughters, Malia and Sasha, who sat in the front pew, Mr. Obama laid out his case in stark terms that would be difficult for a white candidate to make, telling the mostly black audience not to, quote, just sit in the house watching Sports Center. Michelle Obama said they were sitting on the couch playing video games all day. It's so funny when I'm looking at my sons go to those video game channels, I almost never see any of our, I'm not saying that they're not there. You're going to see them, but I'm almost always see black people, Hispanics and white people and Hindus playing them video games and recording themselves. But somehow black people can't enjoy themselves. Black people can't even buy any type of gold chains. We can't buy Air Jordans. We can't buy anything for ourselves to look nice, because if we do, we're just wasting money. See, we have to break these stereotypes. We have to break them. And I wonder, what is Sasha and Malia thinking about this racist rant of Obama? Do they notice this at the time in 2008 when they're very young girls? And how do they think now? But look at this picture. There's something about this picture that's striking to me. Something about this picture that strikes me. Again, family, for those of you who have just come in, hit that like, thumbs up on the button, click that like, share the video out. If you are not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, etc., etc. I'm trying to get through this thing. Look at this picture. This is a money shot. That's one of those terms that that's one of them terms that the photographers use, the money shot. All women. Remember the article, it says that he's making these racist, stereotypical tropes about black men to this crowd. And we all know that black churches are predominantly filled with women, like black mosques are predominantly filled with black men. And there's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect there. We may get into that one day too, because I want to talk about the gender divide, the gender war. The gender war. While it's not prominent where we can see it every day, it is a thing. And I want to talk about that one of these days. I touched on it on the last live stream. So I want to get into, because I want to not just highlight the BS Barack Obama said, because he wasn't one of us. His father was from Sudan, and his mother was a white woman from Kenya. He wasn't an American freedman, so he didn't care about us. I want to go to this study real quick. This was published house.gov, and it was published August 11th of 2020. House.gov, and this was based on the CDC article that showed the data that proves that black men are the most involved in the lives of our children. Put a pin in these stump speeches that Barack Obama has given in 2008 and the stuff that he maintained afterwards. The truth about black fatherhood, stereotypes about black fathers. The stereotypes of black fathers are as absent and black children as fatherless, first introduced over 50 years ago, has, like many racial stereotypes, refused to die. So we know when they're referencing 50 years ago, they're speaking about the Moynihan report. And I think we need to just do a whole live stream on that report as well. We need to break that down. From the article, the truth, black fathers are more involved. See, we shutting all of that stuff down over here, and black men are leading over here. That's why, and not the sucker black men, the real black men over here are leading. And that's why, you know, our audience is how it is. It's a compact audience of real ones, because how the saying goes, I'd rather 10 lions or 10 wolves than 100 sheep. And that's what we got over here. We're a pride of lions and a pack of wolves over here. But let me finish reading. The truth, Black fathers are more involved. We cannot equate the number of unmarried dads to the number of fatherless children. First of all, marriage rates don't necessarily reflect the number of Black fathers living with their children. As writer Josh Leves points out, the majority of Black dads, 2.5 million of around 4.2 million, do live with their dads, even if they're not married to their partner. Did y'all catch that? The majority of Black dads, 2.5 million of around 4.2 million, do live with their kids, even if they're not married to their partner. We got to start destroying these. You can't just call them right-wing talking points, because Obama repeated this nonsense. And a lot of Blacks that are conservative and liberals repeat this nonsense, and it's on us to shut it down. And second of all, according to a 2013 report by the CDC, Black dads, whether they live with their children or not, are more actively involved in their children's lives than their counterparts of other races. Stop letting people tell you that Black fathers are not there and they're not bad. Don't listen to someone's anecdotal evidence. My children's father wasn't there. That doesn't reflect on all of Black men who are in the lives of their children. It doesn't. The statistics show it. I grew up in the housing projects, family, the worst of the worst, the low of the low in New York City. We was there for our children. We were there. All of the fathers before us was there. When we had babies, they were there. I remember dudes wouldn't push their strollers outside. They would come outside holding their babies, arms tired as hell. My arms got tired. I'm like, you know what? I'm about to put my baby in the stroller, and I'm going to push it like I pushed the shopping cart in the supermarket. I'm going to one-hand this piece, and I'm going to diddy bop through the hood with my baby. And that's exactly what I did. And when I did that, all the other young fathers was like, oh, because I was influential in my hood. They was like, nah, I got pushing this baby in the stroller like that, looking manly doing it. The next thing you know, all of the young men in the hood start bringing their children out in the stroller, pushing it with one hand, diddy bopping. See, nobody, if I got to use anecdotes, my anecdotes going to match up with the studies. So we got to dead these lies. And Obama, till this day, helps perpetuate these lies. He is a dangerous, dangerous political figure for not just our livelihoods, but our political future in this country, and he has to be stamped out. Let me continue. For example, the CDC reports that Black fathers who live with their children are more likely than fathers of other races to provide physical care, bathe, diaper, feed for their young children, read to their children. I used to read to my babies every night and help their children with their homework. I used to help my children with their homework every day, all on a daily basis. Then fathers of other races who also cohabitate with their kids. Key words here. The report also reveals that among dads who don't live with their children, Black dads are more likely to be involved in care, including reading to their children, helping them with homework, talking to them about their days, and taking them to activities than Hispanic or white dads who live apart from their kids. My son could tell you because he's the one that lives with me right now. Every day he comes home from school. He just graduated high school. Shout out to my youngest man. That I asked him every single day, how was school, son? Every single day. Let me continue. Non-residential Black fathers are also the least likely to report that they're not at all involved in the care of their children, including bathing, dressing, changing diapers, and playing with their children. There's another part of this article that I want to highlight. It says, mothers' reports echoes fathers. Lest we believe that these statistics are skewed by the father's own self-reporting, other studies based on maternal reports echo these findings. In a 2008 survey of low-income mothers, researchers found that, quote, non-resident white fathers were less involved with their children than African American and Latino fathers. Let's stop that crap, fam. We're not going to let Obama, Roland Martin, or anybody else use any of these talking points against us. We're not going to let the right wingers, the Vivek Ramaswamis and the Nikki Haley's and all of them devils over there on the right, we're not going to let them use this talking point anymore. We are going to shut them down every single time. It continues. In a 2018 study of non-marital births, mothers reported, look, non-marital births, because they say, you know, these black kids, they come from these families, these not where the parents are not married. They're not looking at this portion of the study. In the 2018 study of non-marital births, mothers reported that black fathers shared, quote, shared responsibilities more frequently and displayed more effective co-parenting than Hispanic and white fathers. Like we shutting this stuff down, fam. We're shutting this stuff down. They're not going to do it to us anymore. I'll read this last part. And it seems that the parental relationship, the strong focus on Moynihan's 1965 report, actually has less of an impact on black fathers' involvement with their kids than it does on the involvement of other fathers. This part got me hyped. I feel like I'm battle rapping right now and I'm cooking somebody in a rap battle. That's just how I feel. In a 2009 paper about the child-rearing roles of unmarried men, authors note that, quote, father involvement also varies by race and ethnicity, with rates for African Americans being higher than the average American father. Father involvement drops sharply after parents' relationships end, especially when they enter subsequent relationships and have children with new partners. These declines are less dramatic for African American fathers. So even when we move on and deal with other women and have other children, et cetera, we're still more likely than any other group, white and Hispanic, especially, to still be involved in the lives of our children. As journalist German Lopez writes, when it comes to black fatherhood, absence is not the norm. Active, involved parenthood is. Stop playing, man. We are not going to let these people, we're not going to let Barack Obama talk down to us. What did Jesse Jackson say? I want to cut his nuts out. Barack, he is talking down to black people. That's what Jesse said. He's talking down to us. And that's why I designed this flyer the way that I did, with Obama looking down on a American Freedmen family that I have depicted there. And next to it, showing the decline of black wealth, because that decline, the little bit that we were saving up, we was kind of reaching this place under Barack Obama. And when the housing crisis happened and the Great Recession happened, this dude abandoned us because he wasn't one of us. And we're going to get into some of that. So family, make sure that you support the channel. Cash App Be the Power. You could use the super chat feature as well in the chat. I can't really see the chat. Somebody, Mr. Newman, said Jesse was on point finally. Shabazz Navarro says they are blocking specific messages. I got my channel set for all messages to come through. I actually just did that today because I thought it was set. I had to rebrand the channel, Shabazz Navarro, so I don't know what's going on with that, why the texts are being blocked. But I'll check it again. And shout out to Shabazz Navarro. Shout out to brother Ian Graves. Mississippi Mud said the twerk sisters. Not sure who Mississippi Mud is referring to in that moment. Yeah, and I don't see it on my end. That's because I'm probably not on my other YouTube channel. So y'all bear with me for a second, family. Let me switch channels real quick on my phone and pull it up and see if I can see if any of Shabazz Navarro's comments have been withheld. Because usually, yeah, I don't see it, Shabazz Navarro. I don't see it. But Shabazz Navarro is also a contributor to the platform. So I just want to shout Sister Antonia is in the building, Boston Freedmen. We see you, sis. You are putting in monumental work out there in the city of Boston. So I want to get through this thing. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. You can also donate to our 501c3, especially those of you that's looking for that tax write-off. You know, you can send your donations. Subscribe for donations. Understand how that works at the end of the tax season when it's time to file your taxes. And, you know, it's a benefit to donating to a nonprofit organization. So, you know, and if that's something that you want to look into, do that. But you can donate to our nonprofit. You could go to our website, usadof.org. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into it. We an hour in. I got a lot more stuff to share, fam. I'm gonna be doing a lot of reading on this one. I might not be able to get through this whole stream tonight. I might not. I didn't see Arthur Ward's wrench. I'll get back to that. I'll fix that in a few. Here's an Obama policy that proved he was against American Freedmen. There's so much stuff for me to share that I had to cherry pick the best information and the things that I thought were impactful in making this case that Obama was a horrible president for American freedmen. So let's get into this. This is an article that was published in The Guardian. Why U.S. versus Blewett is the Obama Justice Department's greatest shame by Alec Karakatsanis, I think. And this was published July of 2013. Explain the paradox that the U.S. still jails thousands of African Americans on sentences it admits were unfair. It can't be done. It's a key word. Explain the paradox that the U.S., still jails thousands of African Americans on sentences it admits were unfair. It can't be done. And other comments I'm not going to be able to see. So y'all, the comments from Twitter and Facebook where I'm live streaming from, I will not be able to see those until I come out of the screen. Josh, I see the message you got, bro. I can't come out of the what's the name right now. Just give me a few. I'm gonna get through some of this and then I'll bring you on because I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of these slides. So because I would have to exit and reshare, and I just want to at least get through this article. It says the differential treatment of crack cocaine and powder cocaine by America's criminal quote unquote justice system has been exposed as discriminatory and admitted to be unfair. Yet the secret nightmare continues for thousands of African Americans still in prison for crack cocaine offenses. While people convicted of powder cocaine offenses, the majority of whom are white or Hispanic. See, they had to edit this article to add that Hispanic piece in there. Because remember, this, and that's why we talk about this black and brown thing. It's BS. It's not black and brown. Hispanics are not brown. Black people are brown. We have brown skin. Like we gotta break these nonsensical gaslighting titles that they have for us and expose this thing for what it is. Read that again. While people convicted of powder cocaine offenses, the majority of whom are white or Hispanic, have served far shorter sentences. Even as the U.S. government has reformed the injustice of punitive sentencing for crack, it has doubled down on the injustice for those imprisoned before the reforms. So if you was in prison before these reforms, although It was shown by the Congress, by the judiciary that, yeah, okay, yeah, this thing was unfair. If you was locked up, well, we're not going to retroactively help you. Sorry, you're going to sit in there. It's Obama. Let me continue. I'm a little hyped. Let me calm down. Last month, President Obama quietly did something that should shake every American to the core, seeking to enforce federal crack cocaine laws that have since been repealed. The Obama administration asked the Federal Appeals Court to ensure that thousands of human beings, mostly poor and mostly black, remain locked in prison, even though everyone agrees that there is no justification for them to be there. To understand Obama's decision and to understand why you have probably not heard about this, it is important to realize just how normalized rampant incarceration has become in our society. America now puts people in prisons at rates unparalleled. Like, I don't got to get into that. We know those rates, right? We understand, but I do want to get into this part. Half of all human beings in federal prison are there because of a non-violent drug offense. The number of non-violent drug offenders in prisons and jails around America has increased 1,100% since 1980. The vast majority of those in prison are very poor. African Americans constitute only 14 to 15% of the nation's drug users, about the same as their percentage of the general population. That is important. Yet they constitute 37% of those arrested for drug offenses, 59% of those convicted for drug offenses, and 74% of those sentenced to prison for a drug offense. The result? 20 years or so into the war on drugs, America incarcerated blacks at a rate 6 times higher than South Africa did during apartheid. Many different variables in this to look up. The incarceration rates of South Africans during apartheid. Michelle Alexander breaks down this portion in chapter 3 of her book, The New Jim Crow. That might be our next book club book, fam. I believe that book is very, very important, and for us to analyze it through our Freedmen lens. I'm going to talk with the brothers about that. I've been saying it on a live stream as well, but we're going to more than likely do that as our next book. Let's finish. This was a moment almost unique in history when a supposedly free society admitted that many of its citizens remain in prison for no good reason. Strangely, the Obama administration initially urged in federal courts across the country that the old discriminatory penalties should still be applied to those arrested, but not yet sentenced at the time the law was passed. However, the administration reversed course after significant criticism, and the U.S. Supreme Court held last year that the new, more quote-unquote fair sentences must be applied to those not yet sentenced. Obama was fighting. Family, him and his administration was fighting to keep our people that was locked up from having the new laws that they already admitted were unfair to retroactively assist people that have been in prison already. These people deserve to be out now, most of them. It continues, but that case did not decide the fate of any of the thousands of people already sitting in prison because of what all agree is an unfair law. For those people, sentenced in some cases, just days or weeks before the Fair Sentencing Act was signed, our society's acknowledgement that they remain in prison for no good reason may not help them at all, because the government did not care to reduce their penalties retroactively when it declared them unjust. Like, these are lawsuits. When we're talking about the badges and the incidents of slavery, let me read. I told you I was going to be reading on this one. I told you I was going to be reading on this one. Josh, I know you backstage. I'm going to bring you on in a few minutes. I don't want to come out of the PowerPoint at the moment. Then do the resharing, et cetera, et cetera. Just give me a few, and I'm going to pull you in. I'm going to come out of this in a few minutes. Until President Obama signed the Fair Sentencing Act on August 3rd, 2010, there had been over 2 decades of 100-to-1 disparity in the quantities of drugs seized. That would trigger the mandatory minimum penalties faced by tens of thousands of people like my client. The article starts off with this guy who writes the article, who's a lawyer, telling his client that thinks that he's coming home. It's a little couple of, things, thing of crack, this little thing of crack I got. Him having to explain to his client that he has to do anywhere between 5 to 40 years. In other words, while my client's 5 to 40 years was triggered by only 5 grams of crack cocaine, it would take 500 grams, half a kilo of powdered cocaine to trigger the same penalty. Family, again, badges and incidents of slavery. This disproportionately affected our people. A further disparity, 82% of federal crack cocaine defendants are African American. Only 27% of powder cocaine defendants are African American. In the early, think about that. Crack is stepped on because the cocaine is stepped on. Then you have to add the baking soda to it. It's way weaker than pure cocaine. Anyway, in the early years of the 100-to-1 ratio, from 1988 to 1995, no whites at all were brought to trial by federal prosecutors under the crack provisions in 17 states. Let me read that again. In the early years of the 100-to-1 ratio, from 1988 to 1995, no whites at all were brought to trial by federal prosecutors under the crack provisions in 17 states, which included major cities such as Boston, Denver, Chicago, Miami, Dallas, and Los Angeles. Badges and incidents of slavery. Some of our fight for reparative justice is going to end up in the courts. Michelle Alexander is breaking down the but-for standard used by the Supreme Court in a lot of these cases. That's why we want to do the book club and break this stuff down through our Freedmen lens. See, it looks different. And we're going to teach these lawyers and these constitutional lawyers and these criminal attorneys, we're going to teach them a few things when we get finished breaking this thing down. Let me continue. The president, Congress, and every serious expert agreed that this disparity was unjustifiable. Indeed, the two substances are pharmacologically identical. Curiously, though, without giving any reasons, Congress did not reduce the disparity to 1-to-1, as even federal law enforcement officials had conceded was appropriate. The law enforcement said, no, 1-to-1 is appropriate. It's more cocaine and pure cocaine, obviously, than it is in the rock form, which has this other element, the baking soda. Not to mention whatever it's cut with, the cocaine is cut with. Instead, it picked the nice round number of 18-to-1. Even in making that arbitrarily decision, however, Congress did not indicate what was to happen to all those already sitting in prison under a law that Congress and the White House had now found to be unjust. Family, they left us rotten. They left us. They were supposed to fix this. We need to, all of these people that were locked up, we need to get to them. We need to find them. And this is why the advocacy of the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen through our political arm, our political education and political advocacy group, Be the Power, which will be incorporated as a 501c4 shortly, is so vital in this fight. we expand out from just the conversation into actual actionable things. Oh, I told you I was going to read that article. After I read this article, I'm gonna close it out. I'm gonna bring Brother Joshua, and I still have a lot to get through. But I want to get through some of what we are talking about tonight, because we're proving that Obama was a horrible president. Let me continue reading. But that case did not decide the fate of any of the thousands of people already sitting in prison because of what all agree is an unfair law. For those people sentenced in some cases just days or weeks before the Fair Sentencing Act was signed, I've read this already. I read that part. I'm sorry. For several years, judges have done nothing to remedy this injustice. One famously concluded that the prisoners sentenced under the old law has simply, quote, lost on a temporal roll of the cosmic dice. This is what a judge said. So there are American citizens serving tens of thousands of years in prison because, according to all three branches of government, it's just their tough luck. What was Obama doing? He was fighting on the side of white supremacy, family, because that's what Obama was, a white supremacist. You can call him a black president all you want, but that's what he was. It's the end of this article. It says, apparently so. Until 2 months ago, on 17 May 2013, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit held that the new fair sentences must be applied to all those previously sentenced under laws that everyone acknowledges were discriminatory. The two-judge majority opinion wrote forcefully and with unusual candor about the history of unequal treatment. Unusual candor of we got to find all of this stuff now as we build our case for the American freedmen under the old laws. The judge ordered that those sentenced under those laws were entitled to ask federal judges to reduce their sentences. The Justice Department is now seeking to overturn that decision. This is Obama's Justice Department seeking to overturn the two-judge majority opinion that forcefully, with unusual candor, who wrote about the unequal treatment of our people, said about having these prisoners asking judges to have their sentences reduced, fam. The Justice Department is now seeking to overturn that decision, which will be devastating news to many thousands like my original crack cocaine client. The Obama administration would surely condemn an oppressive foreign dictator's regime for the singular cruelty of declaring to its population that thousands of its citizens must continue to sit in prison for no good reason. The fact that few have even heard of the stunning position taken by President Obama is a sad reflection on how incurious mainstream U.S. public opinion is about what underpins our mass incarceration society. That line is powerful. How incurious mainstream U.S. public opinion is about what underpins our mass incarceration society, meaning this so-called war on drugs, whom black people, namely the American freedmen, were the face of. Because mainstream media helped shape the opinion that black men, especially, were the drug lords, that they were the pariahs in this society, that they were somehow the ones going to Colombia. Forget Iran-Contra, that they were somehow going to Colombia to get the cocaine, the keys themselves, and bringing it back over here, as if we had the money to buy the boats and fly Cessnas into Los Angeles or fly Cessnas into Miami full of cocaine. We didn't have that power. We got it from the people, the Hispanics and the whites, these people wanted this in our neighborhood. They wanted it. So when it came to those policies that Obama talked about, it was only for white folks. And I'm going to show that in a few. And Obama says that the point was like he only cared about white people. His point was he just wanted to win. In this article in the New York Times, it says, in a particularly striking moment, Obama reveals that across the entirety of his presidency, his single largest drop in white support came when he criticized the white police officer who arrested Henry Louis Gates Jr., a black Harvard professor, on the porch of his own home. Quote, "It was support that I'd never completely get back," Obama wrote. His whole thing was about catering to white people. That's all it was about. It was about catering to white folks. That was it. That was it. I got a couple more slides to go, but I want to bring my brother Josh in. I'm in my flow mode right now. All right, Josh, give me a few minutes. You used to coming in late anyway, so just let me run through these right here. Just you're used to coming in at the end. Just give me a few minutes, bro, because I really want to get through these. Politico, McConnell. I'm with Obama on reparations. I want to get through this reparations part. I shared this on the last live stream. This is what Mitch McConnell said. "I find myself once again in the same position as President Obama," McConnell told reporters. "We both oppose reparations. We both are the descendants of slave owners." In 2007, genealogists reported that Obama, whose black father was Kenyan and whose white mother was from Kansas, had slave-owning ancestors on his maternal side. When Obama tries to tell you he was raised by a single mom, his white mother who got pregnant by a Kenyan man that I believe they met in college. They met in college, if my memory serves me correctly. We don't know what happened to Barack Obama's Kenyan father. And maybe he was mad at his pops for leaving him. So he took on the tropes of white America. And from his side of the family, that slave owning side of the family, and trying to diss black men. But we showed reports that cited numbers from studies as early as 2008 that refuted everything that Barack Obama said about black men. Where does it come from? He was a white man with a tan. That's who Barack Obama was, family. That's who he was. That's who he was. New York Post. Obama says white resentment made reparations a non-starter during presidency. This is the lie that he tells. This is the lie that Barack Obama tells. I know I'll bring Josh in before I get into the Ta-Nehisi Coates piece. That's what I'll do. Okay, so we see these. This is from the Daily News to August 2nd, 2008. This is before he's president. Obama opposes reparations for slavery. This is what he said before he was president. Wait, let's go back. Obama says white resentment made reparations a non-starter during presidency. No, you always held this view. This is before he's president. The article reads, Springfield, Illinois, Democratic presidential candidate Barack Obama opposes offering reparations to the descendants of slaves, putting him at odds with some black groups and leaders. The man with the serious chance to become the nation's first black president argues that government should instead combat the legacy of slavery by improving schools. That was Obama's go-to line. His go-to line was, we are going to improve the schools. We're going to improve the schools, and that is somehow going to fix the wealth gap. Says the report showed that it would take 228 years for black Americans to catch up to white Americans by employment alone. If my memory serves me correctly, this includes what's called low skill labor to those with college degrees. 228 years. 200. What was he talking about? Brother Josh is in the building. Brother Josh, I'm gonna go back into the PowerPoint, but do you have anything that you want to share based on what you heard so far? And what's your thoughts on Obama's presidency, his 2 terms, and how horrible they were for our people?
Ooh, man, you went through a lot there, bro. That's a lot. I don't even know where to start. I don't know where to start.
You had to do it. Smoking
yeah.
on Obama packs tonight.
Yeah, man, you did your thing with that, man. I gotta say, when I think about one of the problems that we have when we having this type of conversation is when it comes to evaluating presidents, we have to ask ourselves who wasn't a horrible president for our folks, and it's tough to answer that question.
That's right.
We have to go all the way back to the Civil War to even consider okay, Lincoln. He has we have some problems with Lincoln. He did do emancipation, and he held his views too. And if we wanted to compare that with, saying that then today, it will be abhorrent. So but who wasn't a horrible president for our people? And that's not to absolve Obama, but my point is that's what makes this conversation harder for people to accept, because you're trying to compare Obama against everybody else, and we want to say, well, he wasn't that bad compared to everybody else. Compared to other folks, they were terrible too. Yeah, but how do you absolve him from all the stuff that we're talking about now?
That's right.
And then when you look at the result of what the position our people ended up in afterwards, the legacy of that, and now you can see that, oh yeah, he was horrible too. He was horrible. And to me, the point of us rehashing this and bringing this up is because we have, once again, it's 2023. We're halfway through 2023. 2024 is another presidential cycle.
Yep.
It's also another cycle where new Congress members are going to be put in office, and we know that he's probably going to pop out again and do his thing to push the Democrats again, and it's going to be at our expense because so many people still hold him in high regard, despite what we just showed, because of the great marketing job that's done on the behalf of that party and that man, but it's important that people put all of this stuff in perspective. I just want to say one thing about continuing on the conversation that we've been having about just because something is not overtly racist or it's explicitly racist, that a lot of the results end up the same. And that is, when you consider how many freedmen are in prison compared to how many that were in slavery in the 1800s, when you consider all the stuff you just broke down, brother Naeem, the laws aren't saying lock up the freedmen. Go find them, go hunt them in the neighborhoods and lock them up. That's not what the laws are saying. That's not what any policy you'll find on the books says. But that's what it does. And that's what it does disproportionately to a high degree. But if you think about it, did the Fugitive Slave Act, and I have to go back and look at the text.
Hold on, Josh. I do not mean to cut you, bro. I do not mean to cut you. But let's address this real quick. Let's address this, bro, real quick. I Am a Law says, of course he was. But truth be told, he was the blackest president we had. So we don't downplay or try to give him credit. Let's not do that, bro, to the current speaker.
I don't
So
understand what he said.
either way, he
What is he?
wasn't
What is he saying?
like when you say he was the blackest president that we had. What does that mean? If you want to say, how are we measuring blackness? Are we measuring blackness by policy, or are we measuring blackness by the fact that Barack Obama can sing Al Green I think that was at the Apollo? How exactly how he could hit a jump shot? He was cool with Beyonce and Nas and Jay-Z. What are we measuring insofar as blackness is concerned? I'm curious. Please type your comment in the your response in the comment section. I am Allah, because if we are speaking about policies, if we are, he's the most melanated president, A Boogie. That's a fact. But what does that mean? He's the blackest president. But what does do you mean policy?
Yeah,
What I'm confused.
that's what I think the problem is. Again, we're only used to seeing. You're trying to compare him against everybody else. Everybody else was a white man. So if everybody else is a white man, just because you get somebody else that doesn't look like a white man, you get excited. I mean, that's the same reason why like Bill Clinton was getting folks excited playing the saxophone. Because man, we can relate to that. He can play a saxophone. Our people like to play music too. Yeah, he's nah. That's all. Like that's the best we can do. That's what our expectations are. No, we can't. That's a game that they play. That's just like Hillary Clinton said, I got hot sauce. I like hot sauce. So I can pull out some hot sauce out of my bag and all that.
Wait, didn't they say Bill Clinton was the blackest president because he
They said that before. It used to be Bill Clinton. That's right. That's why I brought up the saxophone. He put the shades on. He put the saxophone on, and I guess he was Ray Charles or something. I don't know.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But we can't, I don't want to beat people up too much, man, because people come into this stuff with all kind of like, they don't have a good enough political understanding. We trying to help people to grow and see past some of the games that's being played against us. If you hung around, if the only time you study politics or got into politics is when you saw your mama, your grandmama watching CNN or as we like to say, DNCNN or MSDNC, then you might have that type of thinking. But we trying to help a lot of our folks grow past that, and it's got to be, you got to judge people not by what they say and not by how they play. You need to judge people by the policy that they push, they implement, and the results that they bring. And if you can't do that, then you're not showing you have any type of political maturity. If we want to get some different results, we're gonna have to grow up, or we could just keep getting pimped. We can keep getting pimped, we can keep getting backslapped, and we can keep getting that type of treatment that a pimp gives his subjects.
All right, I am Allah. He said, "I digress. I don't, I don't want to distract, so I'll be still and let him speak. But we could build later." My comment was what he was telling you. What he was telling me is what he's telling the audience. I don't get that, but we're gonna get back.
And again, I was just trying to say it's hard for our folks sometimes it's hard to have a conversation and to help people to see how damaging an Obama presidency was to us, because when we try to say, oh, he was a horrible president for us, it's like, okay, well, who wasn't a horrible president for us? So then, you start looking at other factors, but it's like, yeah, but you give him a pass. Yeah, but people feel some type of way emotionally when you start trying to criticize him. Yeah, but you let him talk to us any kind of way and say things that you wouldn't let other presidents say, but he hasn't done anything, to deserve that type of treatment. And you say, we talk about Obama, we still let him live today saying some of the same stuff, knowing what we know and seeing the results. When we need to not every time he pop his head up, we need to make either he gonna come correct. Look, I don't necessarily believe a lot of these politicians. I don't care who you are. I don't necessarily believe everybody believes in everything that they say or do. So I just think that they are trying to act for what's most politically advantageous for them, or whatever, or whoever that they are speaking for, whoever is paying them or supporting them, or whatever cause that they want to push. So, and some of that might be, you know, I need to sacrifice what I believe in to compromise with some other deal I broke with somebody else, and that's what it's got to be. So, whether Obama believes a lot of the stuff or not, I mean, it seems pretty consistent. We can come to that conclusion. Um, but we can also say it. He could be doing. He could have been doing a lot of the stuff because of he thought it was politically advantageous, even if it's something he didn't believe in or really want to do. I don't. We don't really care about that. We're not concerned about that. We're just looking at the results, and the result is Freedman's position has economically, politically, socially is decreased. We lost ground from an Obama presidency, and that's continuing the trajectory that we had been on before Obama presidency. But it's like unexpected that we would accelerate under Obama presidency. But go ahead, back to you, brother Naheem.
Indeed, indeed. So let's get into this article from the Atlantic, because how could this black president, the blackest president, how could the blackest president be against reparations? And this Atlantic article, we've pulled this up. We've pulled this up maybe 2-3 years ago. And that's why I said we're getting back to the basics with this channel, right? We're going to start bringing up a lot of the content that we did before, because we have a different lens that we're looking through it. And that's the Freedman lens, which forces us to look at things through in a specific way based on the Reconstruction Amendments, particularly the 13th Amendment, and to some extent the 14th Amendment. But those Reconstruction Amendments in that period, the 1866 Civil Rights Act, etc., we're looking at things differently now. This is the evolution of our thinking about how we see and interpret a lot of this information. So, some of the conclusions are the same. It's just that Freedman lens forces us to look at it differently. So this is a question that Ta-Nehisi Coates asked Obama. I thought we'd talk about policy today. I want to start by getting a sense of your mindset coming into the job, and as I have understood you, and you can reject this, your perspective is that a mixture of universalist policies, my bad, in combination with an increased level of personal responsibility and communal responsibility among African Americans, when we talk about these gaps that we see between Black and white America, that really is the way forward. Is this a correct summation? I love this question. And I think Coates may have been awestruck by Obama, but this question is a preloaded question. It has every trap in it. I want to look. He said, your perspective is that a mixture of universalist policies, rising tides lift all boats, in combination with an increased level of personal responsibility, bootstrapperism, and communal responsibility. Fathers, you need to get back in the homes, and Black men, you need to pull your pants up and stop wearing 8-pound gold chains and Jordans, et cetera, among African Americans. When we talk about these gaps that we see between Black and white America, that really is the way forward. So he said, basically, Obama, you're saying that reparations is not the way, that your stereotypical tropes centered around the bootstrapperism ideology is actually the way forward. This question was brilliant. And like I said, looking at it through my Freedman lens, I just see things a little bit differently. I didn't see this question like this when I first read this article 2 years ago. Okay. Or read it on the air 2 years ago. So Obama gives these 3 steps, but I want to get into step number 3. Step number 2. I'm not going to get into all of them. And he says step number 2, and this is where I think policies do need to be somewhat race specific. Interesting. Is making sure that institutions are not discriminatory. Huh? So you've got something like the FHA, Federal Housing Administration, which was on its face a universal program that involved a huge mechanism for wealth accumulation and people entering into the middle class. So wait a minute, Obama, you're familiar with the history, huh? Let me continue. But if in its application, Black folks were excluded from it, then you have to override that by going after those discriminatory practices. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. The same would be true for something like Social Security, where historically, if you just read the law and the fact that it excluded domestic workers or agricultural workers, you might not see race in it unless you knew that that covered a huge chunk of African Americans, particularly in the South. Okay, Josh, this Obama guy seems like he knows the history about what happened to the freedmen. He's speaking to some things that speak to the wealth gap that Ta-Nehisi Coates gets him with his initial question. Or I don't know if this is the initial question, but this initial question on reparations, how Ta-Nehisi Coates frames this question. So it continues. So reinvigorating the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, making sure that in our Department of Education, his go-to, where we see evidence of Black boys being suspended at substantially higher rates than white boys for the same behavior, in the absence of that kind of rigorous enforcement of the non-discrimination principle, then the long-standing biases that I believe have weakened, but are still clearly present in our society, assert themselves in ways that usually disadvantage African Americans. Josh, this is interesting because Chemerinsky. let's look at it this way, family. Erwin Chemerinsky, peace. Christian Hammer, brother Shannon Freedman Media is in the building, and anybody who I missed, shout out. Okay, I see what you're saying. I am Allah. Okay, all right. We'll get to that. So Erwin Chemerinsky said that education was the only place that discrimination was legally allowed. He said that during his expert testimony for the California Reparations Task Force. So Obama's pivot to education was very interesting, bro. And how would he know that? Well, because he was a constitutional lawyer. He studied the Constitution. He knows what's constitutional. He was slick. He's slick. But see, we are slicker because we can hear these words now and we can, in our retort, flip it back on them. That's why we do what we do here at Be the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. That's exactly why we do what we do here, so that we could get this education. So we would know that when a Democrat tries to shoot this nonsense at us, particularly a Democrat, we know how to flip it back on them. But what he failed to mention, what Obama fails to mention, was the banking industry. Wasn't it not as discriminatory as the Federal Housing Administration, or worse? Mercer Baradaran wrote a whole book on it called The Color of Money. Look that book up, y'all. If this is y'all's first time watching the BTP live stream, we reference it often. Look it up. Why go to the Federal Housing Administration? I want you all to stick a pin in that. Why did he go there? Why not go to the banking industry where the discrimination is really the most prevalent? Because we couldn't buy our own lands and get the equity out of the little bit of homes that we were able to purchase collectively as a people. Remember, Wells Fargo recently came out with a study that said it threw away half of its Black applications during the mortgage refinance boom. That's where the discrimination was. Those are the people that Obama helped. He helped those people. The banks, the main institution that was effing us up in the first place.
That's right. And I mean, when he first got in the game, he allowed them to administer many of the programs for the TARP funds. So, you know, if you needed to, you were supposed to receive some assistance to help you in that crisis to make sure you can keep your house. He let them basically he let the wolf decide which hens got to get access back inside the hen house.
That's right. Bailouts. That's right. I am Allah.
Yeah.
Bailouts. Ali said Wells Fargo called their toxic loans to Black people monkey loans. That's a fact. That's a fact. Why did Obama not speak to the banking industry that he was helping? Interesting, bro. Very, very interesting. So I'm going to read this. I don't know about. I'm going to skip this. It's because it's a lot. It's a lot. There's so much to get to.
Yeah, but this is key though. This is
All right,
hard. It's hard.
All right. You know what? I'll read through it. Let's read through it and we'll get through it. Tonight we smoking on Obama packs tonight. So for those of you that used to smoke backwards, we know the backwards burnt slower than the regular Philly blunts or White Owls, which is what we use in New York, Swisher Sweets. So we smoking them Barack Woods tonight. We smoking Barack Woods tonight. So let me finish reading Barack's answer. He said, now, does that mean that all vestiges of past, this is interesting language, all vestiges of past discrimination would be eliminated? That the income gap or the wealth gap or the education gap would be erased in 5 years or 10 years? Probably not. But wait a minute. If you were to implement a reparative justice program, closing the wealth gap between American freedmen and those called white in this country, instituting free college, a suspension of sales tax for 10 years, and other government-funded program, because the government broke our people and the government has to fix us, in 10 years, we can take a significant chunk out of that gap. A significant chunk in 10 years. Let me see. Okay, Dr. Darity is in the audience. He said, good material tonight. My 2016 article in The Atlantic may have prompted quotes to question Obama about the racial wealth gap. Yeah. I think, matter of fact, I actually read one of Darity's quotes from that article was in an article that I read prior. For those of you just joining, please make sure that you go back and you check the beginning of this stream. I told y'all we smoking on Obama packs tonight, and we're not playing. Okay, all right. So Obama says probably not. And this is obviously a discussion we've had before. When you talk about something like reparations, yeah, Obama, theoretically, you can make obviously a powerful argument that centuries of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination are the primary causes for all those gaps. It's not an argument to be made. This is what caused the gaps. There's no argument there. There's no arguments there. Somebody just came in. I could hear. I don't know if Josh went out yet. All right, give me 1 second, Josh. All right, it wasn't Josh. Because I could hear the little blip now. I can't see the regular screen. And I got to look at the chat through my phone. That's why I'm only pulling up. I'm not pulling up any chats on the screen right now because my PowerPoint is taking up both of my screens. But let me finish. That those were wrongs done to Black community as a whole and Black families specifically. Key. And that in order to close that gap, a society has a moral obligation to make a large, aggressive investment, even if it's not in the form of individual reparations checks, but in the form of a Marshall Plan in order to close those gaps. It is easy to make that theoretical argument. But as a practical matter, now he's talking politics. And go back to what I said. This dude was always catering to white folks. He says, it is hard to think of any society in human history in which a majority population has said that as a consequence of historic wrongs, we are going to now take a big chunk of the nation's resources over a long period of time to make that right. You can look at examples like post-war Germany, where reparations were paid to Holocaust victims and families, and Ta-Nehisi Coates cut them off. Yeah, they lost the war. Coates was on point, but I think this part of the conversation was not mature enough. While Darity had articles in 2016 and had written reports, there wasn't studies out like the book From Here to Equality. There wasn't quality programs out like Be the Power, like you're watching right now. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all support the channel. Use Be the Power at the $ Cash app. Use the super chat. Donate to the 501c3 via our website, usadof.org. We are growing our platform. It's growing. I'm loving it, even though we switched channels. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to this channel. Coach said, yeah, they lost the war. And Obama said, yeah, they lost the war. Small population, finite amount of money that it was going to cost, not multiple generations of people, but in some cases who are still alive, who can point to, quote, that was my house. Those were my paintings. Those were my mother's family jewels, end quote. If you look at countries like South Africa, where you had a Black majority, there have been efforts to tax and help that Black majority, but it hasn't come in the form of a formal reparations program. You have countries like India that have tried to help untouchables with essentially affirmative action programs, but it hasn't fundamentally changed the structure of their societies. So oh man, there's so many places I can go into this, and I'm kind of pressing myself for time, right? I didn't want to do a 2-hour PowerPoint. I wanted to get a good hour and a half in and then get some discussion in. But I kind of figured I had too many slides, and I still got 8 more to go, but all of them are not reading. Most of them are just visuals. But I want to break this down. Obama is making excuses for why he doesn't want to pay reparations. He has to keep the Democratic Party's benign neglect policy, that tacit policy going, and signal to the party that I'm not supporting this because I don't want it to hurt. It's not, I'm going to make sure that reparations doesn't hurt what we do politically. I've shown articles. I'm going to pull that stuff up in a few. Just give me a few minutes. He said, he spoke about South Africa. South Africa in many ways is still a very poor country where Black people are concerned, where the quote unquote Black, y'all know I don't like using that term Black, but we speaking in regular terms, so I'll use it in this sense. We are trying to be so precise with our language over here. But the Black South Africans are suffering over there. They're suffering. Out of all the people in the diaspora during what was called the diaspora wars over the past several years, the South Africans were the only ones that jumped on the side of American freedmen and was going at the Nigerians and those people from those other countries and calling them exactly what American freedmen were calling them. It was an interesting dynamic. Obama said you have countries like India that have tried to help the untouchables with essentially affirmative action programs, but it hasn't fundamentally changed the structure of their societies. Now, this article was 2013, I believe it was. I believe I could go back and check. I'll scroll back in a minute. But just a week or two ago, we did a live stream here on BTP about Ramaswamy, right? We did a part two. Okay, so brother Ibrahim he's saying he's ready to do the. All right, we're gonna do a part two tomorrow. So I'm gonna get through my next two slides, Ibrahim, and then I'll unshare it, and we'll still have some discussion about it. But we're gonna have a part two to this tomorrow. But during the live stream we did on Vivek Ramaswamy, the anti-freedman, anti-black Indian immigrant who was born in America, so that means he's qualified to run for office. I'm all for changing that. I'm all for an amendment that says only Anglo-Saxon whites who can trace themselves back to the foundation of this country, or those other people that were here that were Germans, etc., and American freedmen who were in this country at its founding can be qualified to hold office. And that's something to really, really think about, family. That's something to think about. No one should be able, a Barack Obama, albeit his mother was a white woman from Kansas that descended from white slave owners, should be a black president and not be an American freedman. This is my opinion on it, and I stand strong on that opinion. No one should be a white person whose family immigrated in here in the 20s or 30s, and they shouldn't be qualified to be president either. Were your families here when this country was formed in 1776? Those should be the people who are qualified, but that's another conversation. In India, they are pulling their people out of poverty right now. We shared that with our presentation that we did it wasn't necessarily a presentation. We just pulled some stuff up for Vivek so we can show him, like, you're worrying about America. Your country has, I think, the fifth poorest country in the world. I believe it was, or the fifth, or in the top five, if my memory serves me correctly, of poor countries in the world. You need to worry about what's going on there. One. Two, government is helping fix the poverty there through various nonprofits. Government actually is investing in India to pull its people up out of poverty. So when Obama says here, even though this is dated, but it hasn't fundamentally changed the structure of their societies, that's just wrong. That doesn't apply today. So that conversation looks different today. I'll continue this, and I'm going to read this last quote from this Atlantic article. So the bottom line is that it's hard to find a model in which you can practically administer and sustain political support for those kinds of efforts. No, Japanese Americans got reparations. Native Americans got reparations. Jewish Holocaust survivors got reparations. The progeny of Jewish Holocaust survivors received reparations. Those people that weren't in no internment camps or wasn't that escaped the gas chambers, etc. As you know, the stuff white supremacy like to say about us, you weren't a slave. My ancestors were enslaved holders. The Germans aren't saying today, I'm not a Nazi soldier that put your people in gas chambers and you got rescued by the Allied forces. Like, I'm not them. Let's not do reparations. That I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not going to pretend. But the fact that they're getting reparations, well, it didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. So we can find a model. Obama is lying here. Obama is lying here. All right, give me 1 second, Josh. So the bottom line is that it's hard to find a model. I read that part. It says, and what makes America complicated as well, and that wasn't no bottom line. We got these people can never, ever tell us what the bottom line is. American freedmen get to define the bottom line, period. It says, and what makes America complicated as well is the degree to which is not just a black/white society. And it is becoming less so every year. You talk about them immigrants. What did Biden say when he was asked about immigration? America cherry picks and hand picks the best immigrants from all over the world. It's like, what does that got to do with reparations dementia, Joe? Anyway, Obama says, so how do Latinos feel if there's a big investment just in the African American community? And they're looking and saying, we're poor as well. What kind of help are we getting? Y'all go back to your own country. How about that? And Hispanics are doing very well in this country. It's a lie. That's why the article I read, the Blewett versus Obama administration, Blewett versus the Justice Department. Y'all make sure y'all look that case up, look that article up. I believe that was from The Guardian. I'll scroll back if I need to, and I'll try to put some of those links in the live chat. Hispanics were getting off with white folks for the cocaine charges, while black people were being thrown under the jail for crack charges. And the crack had less cocaine in it than the actual cocaine that whites and Hispanics were getting arrested for. AOC, some of her first responses to reparations was, well, what about Hispanic people? Always a what about? Bernie Sanders, what about? Now, I'm talking about the Democrats now. We know what the Republicans say. They've been what about? When there's some Republicans on this channel, go check it out. I think the title is White Woman Disses Reparations and the Thomas Sowell Effect. Y'all make sure y'all go check that out. Thomas Sowell just be babbling a bunch of nonsense. And one day we're going to dedicate a whole live stream to him. Look, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and I clearly didn't have anything to do with what was taking place. Obama is giving these people an argument. He's giving them an argument, and they've been using this argument. My family, the right-wingers have been using this argument. Look, I'm a first-generation immigrant, and clearly I didn't have anything to do with what was taking place. Who cares? You immigrated to a country that owes debts. The Constitution says all debts. I'm going to paraphrase. I'm going to do a horrible paraphrase, but y'all going to get the gist. All debts that we had as a country under this Constitution, under the Articles of Confederation, is the same under this Constitution. I don't think that was a horrible paraphrase. When you migrate to this country, you take on its debts. If there's a hole in the road and you move into a local municipality, some of your local taxes is going to go to repair that hole in the road. You don't get to say where the money goes and where it doesn't go. You just don't get to make that choice, especially as an immigrant trying to become a citizen or just becoming a citizen or a first-gen immigrant. No way. But it's this part of Obama's Ta-Nehisi Coates interview that threw me. Because I didn't catch this the first time. And who would have caught it the first time? Because the ramifications of that came out way after this and way after we did our last live stream. Obama said there is a certain percentage of the white population. If they started having more middle-class black kids who are friends with their kids, eating Cheerios in their kitchen, their attitudes start changing. Whoa, I got to read that again. There is a certain percentage of the white population. If they started having more middle-class black kids who are friends with the poor, if these whites started having more middle-class black kids who are friends with their kids, eating Cheerios in their kitchen, their attitudes start changing. Cheerios. I want you all to think. Cheerios. See if my chat is up before I go to this next slide. Cheerios, family. Cheerios. Let that wash over you for a minute. Okay. So what happened when corporate America took Obama's advice and tried to make this interracial Cheerio thing happen? Do you all remember? This is what happened. Remember this Cheerios commercial? This is from NPR News. It says, for some, Cheerios commercial crossed the line by depicting mixed race family as normal. You might not think a cereal commercial would serve as a vehicle for a heartfelt conversation about race, but that seems to be what's happening, both around the country and on the daily circuit. A 30-second Cheerios ad featuring a black dad, white mom, and biracial child gained so much negative attention in June 2013 that Cheerios turned off commenting on the YouTube page. If I'm not mistaken, 2013 was around the time that Ta-Nehisi Coates article came out. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go back and check. They tried to do the Cheerios thing, fam. White America went crazy. They went crazy. You probably know most of Black America was sitting around. It's like, oh, look at that little cute mixed baby. White America? Oh, no. This baby was a monstrosity because they were trying to promote the old idea that Black men with their endowments should get with white women. Oh, this threw white America into a frenzy. Barack Obama is detached. And people like Barack Obama, that bourgeoisie type that come from that long white money in this country, they too are detached. And I'm talking about the white folks as well. They too are detached. We tried that, Obama. It didn't work. Nothing that you did work. Nothing you did work. Not for us, but we know who it worked for, right? Because we show this article all the time. We show this article all the time on this channel that the U.S. added 1.1 million new millionaires under Barack Obama. We show that all the time. Almost all of these 1.1 million new millionaires were white. Let's go back because I'm about to come out of this. Matter of fact, I can escape and bring Josh on right now because I want people to see that. Senate Democrats, this was articles published in the Hill. None of Obama's policies didn't work. Reparations was the only way. 2 articles published by the Hill 2 years apart. Senate Democrats wish talk on reparations would go away. The newer article, Democrats debate timing and wisdom of reparations vote. It was always about kicking the can down the road. This was a screenshot I took from Gayle King's CBS News morning show that shows that the Democratic Party does not actively support reparations. If I was thinking earlier, I would have, all right, Otis said it's 2014 is the Coates article. So damn, Obama, you was way out. You ain't see what happened with the Cheerios with the Cheerios commercial. Jeez. The Democratic Party does not actively support reparations. And if I was thinking, I would have threw up the Janet Yellen quote where she was asked about reparations, and she said, our administration is not actively pursuing reparations. Easy Access was one of those millionaires, Obama himself. Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. Well,
So, John, what you got to say to everything that we just shared?
Yeah, I mean, it's just continuing on with what we were talking about before, but oh man, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I think when you look at Obama and how, looking at that now, the reason why it's important, again, for the upcoming cycle is it's going to, I would predict that he's going to pop his head up again. Because Biden is running again. He hasn't given any indication that he's stepping down, even though, he's looking like he's, Mr. Magoo out there, he's walking around like he just doesn't have a good sense of, I don't know what's wrong. Some
Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, some people, somebody came out recently and was talking about all the people on the Capitol Hill that it's like a pharmacist or a doctor or something saying he kind of outed a bunch of people that he was giving Alzheimer's prescriptions to, but it's no way that Biden is not one of them people, man. It's I don't know if it's Alzheimer's, and then I don't want to beat people up for old age and they got disease, but when you talk about being the president, man,
weekend at Biden's.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Weekend at Biden's.
Yo, that's
a corpse, man.
When he rocking the shades too, and he just walked across the stage and he walked clear past the podium and start standing like, man, where in the world am I? What's going on?
That was crazy. That was crazy.
So they need
running again, man. Run your ass to the nursing home, my guy.
Yeah, like they got somebody at the end of this podium to make sure he don't walk clear off the joint. He walked and he fell, and it's like, oh my God, he fell. Oh, what's happening?
Ibrahim called you an ageist.
What'd he say? Oh, age. Oh yeah. Hey man, nah. Look, man. It ain't about the age. It's about the ability. Can you at least remember what's going on? Can you remember where you are? Can you see where you're going? All this kind of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, weekend at Biden's. That's a good one, because especially when you put those shades on, man.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all that to say, do you think it's with a guy like that? Do you think it's less likely or more likely that he will want to use somebody like Obama to help prop him up for re-election?
Obama's coming back.
Oh yeah,
Obama's coming back, and in tomorrow night's discussion, we're gonna get into the cousin Pookie stuff. I'm gonna play that stuff. I don't know if the channel is gonna get struck or just probably that video is just gonna get struck. They usually don't just give you channel strikes anymore like that. We have a fair use notice in our caption, and I'll make sure to add that in our ticker that scrolls across the bottom of our screen during tomorrow's discussion.
I want to just make another point clear that one of the main reasons why we have been promoting disaggregation of, in a clear, like the clear differences or delineations from just the Black racial classification. And we've been using the term American Freedmen. It's for stuff like this. Because when people say Obama is the first Black president, okay, technically, according to the current standard, which is they define Black as anybody with origins of any of the Black racial groups of Africa, I mean, he would be under that definition. He would be under that. So, but that's problematic because we are obviously, when people say that, they are assuming, it's built in, or the image that people put in their mind is somebody who come from American freedmen ancestry. Like your people went through slavery, got freedom, and you were here fighting for justice and surviving through hells for generations. And then you overcame that, and then you became the president. But that's not the case. And it's very much important when you want to talk about bias. Um, when you have a president, okay, you say this is a black president who is against reparations for to go to American freedmen families. So now moving forward, if they can keep bringing him up and keep propping him up on that note, then it's like, well, they don't even it takes the pressure off of future people running from having because they can always say, well, Obama wasn't for reparations, so don't get mad at me. I'm not black, and I'm not for reparations either. So what can you say? So as long as they can use him up and prop him up and hold him as a shield and as a cop out, as a person that they can, say, well, y'all love Obama, y'all voted for Obama, and he wasn't for reparations, so why can't you vote for me? I'm talking about doing all this other good stuff for you too, just like he said. And he said he was going to help you with education, and he said he was going to help you with this and help you with that. And none of that stuff was lasting or had any meaningful impact. At the end, when we try to come back and say, well, when people make the claim, well, what did Obama do? And then they want to pull out some type of list to say, well, he did this, he did that. Okay, well, show me how the numbers have changed in the positive for that. Oh, well, it's because Trump came after that. And no. We were on the downward trajectory before.
That's right.
We were on a downward trajectory immediately after and as a result, we were on an accelerated downward trajectory. And now, you want us to continue that, and you want us to no, we can't. We can't do that. We can't do that. And so don't hold up Obama. He doesn't hold any weight over here. And at least that's how we want to posture. It's unfortunate that still a large number of our folks don't have the same type of sentiments, I dare I say vitriol as we have, or resentment when people try to throw an Obama presidency in our faces. We need to. That's the problem. We need to have a supreme amount of vitriol and resentment when people try to throw Obama at us. It's like a pain point. It's a pain point, and it should be, because what it is saying that you're stupid enough to fall for this. You were stupid enough to fall for it once. You're stupid enough to fall for it again. You're stupid enough to continue to fall for it. So we're going to keep on running the same play, and you're going to continue to have give us the same desired response. And at some point we got to say, no, we're not stupid, man. We've been beat up. Y'all got it with this before, and that's it. But I don't know how we get to the point where that's just not an effective play on us. What are your suggestions about that, Brother Naeem?
I mean, be the power. Our voices have to grow. And in order to affect anything in that regard, we are going to have to put in the political groundwork that's needed. Ali said at some point people are going to have to grow up, and that's a fact. And we are the grown-ups over here. We are the grown-ups over here. He said in it, and literally become the power. So that's the only way. There has to be a serious program with serious individuals who talk like us, sound like us, look like us, who have the same political ideology that we have, the same political ideological outlooks that we have when it comes to what we need to do as, I want to say as a people, but this thing is ran by influence, and it all goes back to that thing. I'm going to give a boxing analogy. Devin Haney, I watched the fight live. I learned how to tune the announcers out. years ago. I only gave the dude Loma like 3 rounds, maybe 4. Devin Haney put on a masterful boxing performance. All of them punches Loma was throwing was missing, and the crowd was getting hyped because they don't know what they're looking at. The judges who've been scoring fights for years, decades, they know what they're looking at. And so they scored the fight correctly. Even the one that they said got it wrong, I still thought he got it right. I thought he may have gotten that 10th round wrong, but even when I went back and looked at the 10th round, I was like, damn, wait a minute. Hold up. This round was closer than I initially thought it was. Either way, the media, the announcers made it seem as if Lomachenko was winning the fight. They were calling punches, landed punches, that were not landed. Max Kellerman, who does an ESPN scorecard, his scorecard was so off. So if he, after 6 rounds, says that he has it even, 3 rounds Haney, 3, and I'm going somewhere with this, y'all, so just be patient with my analogy. 3 rounds Haney, 3 rounds Loma. When I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, I don't know what Max is looking at, because I got it 5 rounds Haney, 1 round Loma. 1 round. And that was I think the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken. The 2nd or the 3rd round. So now Max is influencing the people at home. That's why Boosie and I think Nelly and these people that we would think would be, number one, be on our side, right? But we boxing fans, we love the sport. We gonna root for who we root for. We're fans of the sport. But they got it wrong and didn't realize that they were being influenced. People went back and watched the fight and said, after second thought, after watching the fight again, I'm a lean Haney. Some people was lying. It was like, it could have been a draw, but I just only had Haney probably winning by 1 round. The point is, bro, and everybody that's listening, is that they have the media to influence everything. That's what the article, the Blewett versus the Justice Department, that article on Blewett versus the Justice Department was talking about. Let me see. All right, I'm going to get to you, Charlie. That's what the article was talking about, how the media, basically, they was quick to plaster our faces up on the screen as the faces of this war on drugs, this lopsided war. It was a lopsided war. But when the country, the judiciary, the legislators decided that the sentencing, the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity was unfair, and the crack to cocaine disparity, 100-to-1, they said it. They said it, but the media, they didn't go out and promote that. Justices went out, wrote opinions that this is unfair, and the sentences of people should be retroactively affected in the positive by the new laws that came out. Obama's Justice Department fought against that, and the media didn't share that at all. The point is the influence. And I don't think that we've garnered enough influence. But I think we're getting there because we're hearing people use our talking points. And when I say our talking points, I don't just mean be the power. I mean the reparation is collective, whether I rock with you or I don't, whether you rock with us or not. We are helping to spread this message in a way that is becoming very, very clear and obvious when it is heard coming out the mouths of other people. And so the more we grow, the more we continue to do programs like the one that we did tonight, exposing Barack Obama as a horrible president for our people, like the one that we're going to do tomorrow night, part 2 to this, then our influence will start to grow. Those people that are running for office already, they will come to us and say, I like y'all's message. I'm adopting y'all's message while we are building up our own candidates, while we are building up our own political operatives, while we are politically organizing. That's the way we do it, bro. At least that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. One thing I would also suggest, or I don't say suggest, but one thing I believe is we have to get more people who are in certain positions of I don't want to say authority necessarily, but they have certain platforms where their voice actually amplifies and carries and influences other voices, um, to not be afraid to be objectively critical, um, in a way that really shows the true flaws and not I should say the true issues and problems and dangers that come from the legacy of the Obama presidency. You know, people got to speak up, man. People got to like tell the real, and not be afraid of getting Democratic Party backlash, and because if you're not willing to say these things with conviction, then you're pretty much willing to accept the same thing happening again and quietly and just taking on the chin. But now it should be way easier. It's way easier to speak out on the stuff now because he's not in office than it was when he was in office and you were trying to figure out, well, how, I got to face a lot of backlash from my own people who don't understand any better. I have to fight against it. I'm trying to do political work, but trying to get something passed. And I'm fighting against the administration, that's currently in power. I guess that's in other countries, people get killed for that. Maybe you don't get killed in this country, but they can find other ways to like neutralize you, or if you're trying to make any advances, maybe you don't make any advances because of that. So I would say we just need more people to be willing to speak up on this stuff, especially considering how they're going to use Obama moving forward. And I don't know if he's going to get creative, because he's kind of like been a shapeshifter. He's like, okay, well, what is the most popular position I can take that help me get the most favor, and let me shapeshift into the form needed to get that support, to quell white folks that already are mad because they see me as just another one of these Negroes, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm wondering, like, looking back, well, what if he ran for office today? It's a question I want to ask. If he ran for office today, do you think that he would invoke some of the same type of rhetoric or sound that got him elected when he was on his first campaign trail?
Bro,
Like, would he be trying to talk about Dr. King, or would he be trying to say, you know what? I'm not even like I'm actually an immigrant. I'm people. My dad is immigrant. My mom was American.
nope.
And like, I think.
No.
Do you think he would have been?
No.
Hmm?
No, he would be the same. He was just campaigning for the Democrats in Michigan. Was that last year? I think it was last year. He went right back to the cousin Pookie jokes. He went
back
Yeah,
recently to cousin Pookie. Oh yeah, go ahead, pull that up, bro. That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
I'm gonna save that for tomorrow.
Come on, man. Don't do it. Don't
Nah,
do that. Don't save us.
2 hours and
Oh
21
man,
minutes in. We
you
2
gonna
hours.
keep us with the anticipation for tomorrow like that? Oh
We
man.
gotta build that. We gotta build that anticipation. We 2 hours and 21 minutes in. The people gonna come back. They gonna come out at us, and we gonna have a more rounded discussion because we're gonna have the rest of the bros on the panel. So I know at least Ibrahim is gonna be on, me and Josh, so we can have, we could continue the discussion. And I'm gonna play it. I have a string of Cousin Pookie stuff, a thread that I did on Twitter. So I can't wait to pull that up tomorrow. So Ali said, yeah, the stream has been good. Good night.
Yeah. No, I was just playing,
I
man.
know, I know, I
It's
know.
been you did a great job on here, bro. I gotta
Honest,
give you your
honest,
props.
bro. Honest, man. So, tomorrow we get to expand the conversation and, we get to go. I found myself watching all of the streams over again, which is good because that's something that I didn't used to do. Just trying to perfect my speaking and all of that stuff and minimize mistakes because I'll tell people this ain't easy trying to do this and read the chat and monitor the chat, process thoughts, process what everybody else is saying on the panel. And because I've messed up a lot that I went back and listened to, and I was like, what the hell did I say? How did I mess that? How did I mess that up? So that does happen, man. But I've been going back listening to all of the streams over so that I can perfect some things. I'm trying to get better, man. So again, family, I thought this was a good discussion. I told y'all we were smoking on the Obama packs tonight, and that's exactly what we did. We proved that this guy is not good for our people. We're going to come back tomorrow night. We're going to continue this discussion. We're going to continue with this discussion. We're going to pull up more derogatory stuff that this dude Barack Obama has said, and we're going to delve a little bit deeper into some more of his policy positions as well. So hold on.
Yeah, because and maybe we can get into how they're similar to policy positions that
Facts,
people are taking today.
facts. All right, fam. Let me see. Easy X said Obama will use scare tactics, as all Democrats will, against Black Americans. This will be the most important election of your life. Trump will be used as the devil. And we're going to have a conversation about that, y'all, about Trump and where we stand. I don't want to say as a team, because not all of us may feel the same way about a Trump presidency, right? But we've had some discussions on here. Some things have been funny because there's certain things coming back around full circle that I was saying a couple years back. But I mean, I don't pretend like the people on the right are not who they say that they are, because they are exactly who they say that they are. The gnashing wolves, the wolves with gnashing teeth, as Malcolm X described them. But it is what it is. So, family, again, if you came in a little later, hit the like button on the video. We're about to close it out. Share the video out. Let those diehard Democrat and Obama fans know that we had a good discussion tonight. And we unearthed, if you will, a lot of things that we didn't know about Barack Obama. And that's why I named that case. I mean, I gave the title before I got into the Blewett versus Justice Department case. Here's an Obama policy that proved he was against American freedmen. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Yeah, U.S. versus Blewett, Blewett. So, and I forgot to put the links in the chat. I mean, if I can remember tomorrow night, I will. But y'all seen the screenshot, so it's not like it's not anything that y'all can't pull up on y'all's own. So with that said, you know, I leave you with two mottos. One is from my brother Logic, and that is government, politics is the game, and government is how it's played. And the motto here at BTP, which is, what happened, bro?
Nah,
I
you
thought
got it backwards.
did I say it wrong?
Yeah.
Government
Government is the
Government
game.
is the game, and politics. I always mess it up. Government is the game, and politics is how it's played.
Where you
It's
at,
almost
Logic?
I got it wrong. What you said, bro?
So where you at, Logic?
Yeah, man. It's time. It's time. It's time. But and the motto of the platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.